When people talk about femininity, they often skip over the part that matters the most, your mother. Because before you ever dated a man, before you ever formed a friendship, before you ever chose your own boundaries, you learned what love, safety, and worth looked like through her. The thing is, not all mothers teach from love. Some teach from survival. And when you grow up being mothered from survival, you inherit her fight instead of her peace. Hey, welcome back. So glad to have you here. It's so funny because I keep looking at myself and I'm like, my hair does not look the way it looks in person right now. It's wild because when you first take your hair out of like any type of protective style or styling method, for me, this was Bantu knots. It's always like so tight, and with natural hair, it usually looks better like day 3, day 4. But baby, I just took these out, so now it's giving like curly Frederick Douglass. I love it though. I love it. Hey, it is what it is. We gonna roll with the punches. We gonna roll with it, all right? Today has been a beautiful day, and even though this is the first snow for us in Chicago, it has looked beautiful and lovely. And it was odd because usually I do not like the winter time at all whatsoever, especially the snow. I had to double back and think, where did that come from? When did I stop liking the winter time and the snow? And clearly, yeah, it's cold. I do not like to be cold. Okay, I think that's pretty evident. And when you get older and you have a car, you got to drive in it. It's very dangerous to drive in sometimes. So yeah, but when I was a little girl, I used to love snow days. Every kid does. And it reminded me of my son. He was saying that he loved the snow day. Actually, when it first started snowing, it was this weekend. He woke up first thing in the morning and he started cooking pancakes. I'm like, this boy really loves the snow, okay? It's beautiful, and as long as I don't have to be in it, I love it. But I thought back and I was like, actually, I think I picked that up from my mother. Me not liking the snow came because she kind of ruined it for me in a sense. She hates the cold, she hates the snow, and I just had to be a part of that little gang that she had going on instead of really allowing me to enjoy the bliss. And even now that I'm a mom, I'm realizing that I need to hold space for my son to enjoy the things that are different from me. And that's something that I've done and curated with the snow. Something that he's been wanting to do for the longest time is to go ice skating. And baby, I am not trying to go ice skating, but the last time I went ice skating in high school, I loved it. It was so fun. I had such a good time, and it really opened my eyes to it, right? So now I told him, I was like, this year I'm gonna take you ice skating. So we definitely gonna do that. So you guys keep me accountable, okay? Don't let me go without taking that boy ice skating this season, period. Because, baby, he'll sit there and not say nothing, but I know it's something that he wants to do. And I'm trying to get out of my own way to support him and what he has going on, especially when you think about like just being a mom. You have so much going on. Sometimes you understand your mother better when you become a mother because you start to realize like, oh, I see why she reacted to that or why she did this a certain type of way. When you have your own kids and you're stressed out in work and school and your partner or their father or family or whatever, you start to see a whole nother world when you become a mother. So yeah, sometimes I definitely understand, but also being a mother has highlighted where my mother definitely dropped the ball in a lot of areas. I feel like there's other women that experience this, and I feel like a lot of us are trying to learn how to be soft and in our feminine energy and not in survival mode. But honestly, that survival mode probably started from your mom. So let's go ahead and let's get into that. We're gonna go ahead and light some incense and clear the air like we always do, set the mood, set the vibe, and jump into this conversation. And if you all ever wonder which incense I'm burning each time, sometimes I do tell you, but this time I'm burning opium. It's like one of my favorite scents of all time when it comes to incense. So smelling something good definitely opens me up to feeling good. Some of us didn't realize that our first heartbreak wasn't a man, it was our mother. The woman who taught us to love also taught us to betray ourselves to keep it. Or maybe you didn't attract broken people because you like pain. You attracted them because pain feels familiar. The way your mother loved you became the blueprint for how you let others treat you. Or maybe you learned to mother everyone else because no one ever mothered you. But that wound doesn't make you weak. It explains why you struggle to rest, receive, and feel safe. Hey, I'm LuminousRah. We already cleared the air to set the tone. And now we're about to talk about what keeps you stuck in survival mode mode instead of softness. A while ago, I made a short video with my 3 characters, shadow self, higher self, and ego self. It was depicted as higher self teaching shadow self and ego self how to dive into their femininity and what they needed to do in order to access their femininity. I brought up a lot of wounds that we face and experience that kind of hold us back from either opening up and feeling safe in our femininity, or feeling empowered in our femininity, or anything that may be blocking us from achieving our own internal energy and our divine feminine energy. And one of the things I mentioned was healing your mother wounds. When people talk about femininity, they often skip over the part that matters the most, your mother. Because before you ever dated a man, before you ever formed a friendship, before you ever chose your own boundaries, you learned what love, safety, and worth looked like through her. The thing is, not all mothers teach from love. Some teach from survival. And when you grow up being mothered from survival, you inherit her fight instead of her peace. Today, I want to talk to you about 5 ways those wounds can kill your feminine energy and how they silently show up in your adult life, in your relationships, your body, your emotions, and your ability to receive love. We're jumping in heavy. The first one is emotional incest and enmeshment. And oftentimes when you experience this, it seems like you're her bestie or her therapist. I know it sounds crazy, but emotional incest isn't about anything physical. It's about the emotional roles that we play. When your mother confides in you like a friend or leans on you like a partner, you grow up believing that you exist to soothe people. I'm not a therapist. I do know through research and therapy this is called parentification. This is where the child becomes the emotional caretaker of the parent. It teaches you to overfunction, to feel safe only when you're useful. You grow up and develop into the friend that listens to everyone but never shares. The woman who overextends in relationships, then feels invisible when no one shows up for her. You may also mistake anxiety for connection because love to you has always meant to hold someone else together. Now, how does that show up in our real life day to day? Mind you, all of us didn't experience the same type of woman growing up, but you'd be surprised how crazy it was for a lot of women to grow up, especially in this category. When your mother relies on you like a partner, it'll show up as the second that you get a job, now you have to contribute to these bills. It's often masked as putting you to the test and teaching you responsibility, but that often gets you stuck in a cycle. You'll wake up one day, 15, 20 years later, working at the same type of job title that you were working when you first got out of high school. You weren't motivated or pushed to go and possibly live out your dreams or reach higher than your bloodline. Maybe get a degree, aim higher than anyone that came before you. There may also been a lot of restrictions, a lot of catty behavior. You may have felt like you wanted someone that could at least give you some structure. You may have also felt like the parent in your life, instead of having a parent, may have had to keep up with your mother instead of her standing up and taking care of business and doing the things that she needed to do. That breeds some resentment. You can't help but to watch everyone else have these seemingly good relationships with their mothers, these connections with their mothers. They have someone that they can lean on. When you don't feel like you have anyone to lean on growing up, that destroys a piece of you. But we also want to look at how a lot of these behaviors have shown up as a positive in our lives. Now you may be showing up very responsible. You may be the person that people admire and they don't know how you get everything done and how you show up. And while that's beautiful, people don't give you what you need. They don't recognize that you need rest, and they're damn sure not going to tell you to go ahead and take a rest break. Give it to her. She can handle it. Give it to her. She's got it. She always shows up. She said it's good. There's no problem. When you try to readjust and you try to create boundaries and say no, okay, it becomes challenging because then people are wondering what the heck got into you? What's wrong with you? What's the issue with you? It becomes an issue instead of something that's supported and empowering, because people can't see what you've battled your entire life. Don't worry, we're gonna work this out. We're gonna help you through this. Some of the first things that I noticed that I needed to take care of when I first started tapping into my femininity was to have my own identity. I had to speak up for myself. I had to have boundaries. It wasn't necessarily that I had to step down from the position of making decisions and being responsible, but more so allowing myself to relax and take a back seat in order to receive in that energy. And I feel like a lot of first daughters go through this, even though I don't fit the characteristics for a lot of this stuff, but I definitely experienced a lot because I grew up showing up responsible. I was often left alone and not really bothered, or because I didn't bother anyone and I was quiet and I was off in the corner doing my own thing and I was rarely getting in trouble. So I was managing myself. I was self-soothing myself, for me, it had somewhat of an adverse effect. Instead of it being something where now I need to cling to someone, I felt like I didn't need anybody and I wanted everybody out of my space, and I didn't want you looking over my shoulder and helicoptering me. You know what I mean? I got kind of irritated when people would do that, because if I say I got it, I got it. Why are you over here? That can come off really abrasive in certain situations. And it also created this area where I didn't really trust that often. So if you find yourself not being able to trust, you can't trust anybody to do anything right, everything has to be done right, it's probably because you had a situation where you were parentified. Everything needs to show up correctly at its best and highest ability because you were a child thinking that that's the only way that you can get some type of praise and love. When you realize that, you start to realize you don't have to control others. Things does not have to be your way. You don't have to breathe down somebody's neck and make sure that they're on it. Because if you think about it, even saying that right now, I'm realizing that that's a trauma response, because somebody was probably yelling at you while you didn't take care of something that wasn't even your responsibility to begin with. So you then enact that same behavior on others. You don't have a lot of grace for others because you weren't able to have grace for yourself. No one applauded you when you took a break. No one soothed you when you messed up. It was always, it had to be right. You have to show up, and everything and everyone is depending on you from a very young age. That will mess with your psyche. That's something that I think that you either need to go within deeply about, probably do some somatic therapy, or you have to go to a therapist, babe, because you're not able to relax. You will then most likely probably have anxiety if things are done wrong. If I reflect, I did experience a lot of anxiety if I didn't get everything right. If my house wasn't clean all the time, if dinner wasn't cooked on time, if I couldn't show up for my son, if his homework wasn't done right, if I didn't go to work and hit my numbers, I was a monster. I was probably so hard to deal with because I wasn't able to give myself grace. And then add insult to injury, if you are a melanated Black woman, if you are an African American Black woman, even African women, I've definitely experienced this in Nigerian culture as well. It spirals into something else over there because there is a lot of centering men in the culture. So it gets even deeper, right? Not to say that we don't have it in the African American communities as well, but not as much, because we were more so taught you don't need a man, you could do it without a man. It's hard for our women to conceptualize being taken care of. You're failing if you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're a trophy wife, or whatever titles they want to put on whatever life you're living that they think you're living. It's looked down upon. There's a disgust. There's a certain anger and aggravation because we don't realize a lot of these older women were in bad situations if they were taken care of. And some of us are starting to get different type of men that aren't going to weaponize their money and not going to have us pregnant and barefoot in wintertime. If you understand, if you know, you know. There's just a certain type of belief system in our culture for us. You have to be an independent woman. You have to be exceptional. You cannot fail. You cannot make mistakes. You have to show up. You have to show out. It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if your health is declining. It doesn't matter if you stress yourself out to get cancer. It doesn't matter. You have to do it. You have to do it loud. You have to do it proud, and you have to do it because you're Black. You have to show up exceptional so that you can meet their bare minimum performance. If you know, you know. And honestly, we are the ones that are harming ourselves by holding on to that narrative. In a way, it works out for us. It supports us. But in other ways, how do you feel when you overperform, overshow up, people please, and then you're not given the credit? Sometimes you want to crash out. Sometimes you minimize even more. Other times you feel like an imposter. You get imposter syndrome. So what is it to us to sit back and sit in our femininity and receive and be able to say, I'm not able to do that. I'm not capable in that area because I'm already overwhelmed. I'm overworked. I have a lot going on. And it's very challenging when you don't grow up in a space where you're already like that. We have to realize just because we decide to switch something and change something in our life today doesn't mean that everybody else is going to get on with the program. They're used to abusing us. They're used to taking advantage of us. They're used to the niceties, us showing up and showing out and controlling our anger, controlling our moods and our emotions, and not always coming up pleasant. Sometimes we don't smile because there's nothing to smile about. We have a lot on our back. We have a lot on our plate, and people don't understand that. The other people that are out playing and frolicking and doing absolutely nothing with their life, or maybe they're not doing enough with their life, they have boundaries and they're not going to let anybody put a whole bunch of stuff that they can't handle on their shoulders. They're looking at us like, ugh, why is she so grumpy? We're grumpy because we're taking on too much, and I think that we definitely need to stop that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Here's your reflection. Where in my life am I playing the caretaker instead of the woman? When did I learn that emotional labor equals love? What am I doing for myself to release that narrative and not be covertly bullied back into the same cycles that I'm trying to escape from? You have to think, when people are offended that you're choosing yourself, they're the people that are taking advantage of you. They're the people that are benefiting from you doing it all. And oftentimes we get mad at other people because we're doing it all. It seems like nobody respects or gives us our flowers for doing it all. And I remember I used to be in that place. I used to be so frustrated that nobody was giving me my flowers for doing it all. But then I turn around and somebody is giving my son's father flowers because he did what he was supposed to do in the first place. So I started to realize, oh, people respect you more when you're not capable and then you do the very bare minimum. And guess what? The second that I started to play that game, I realized, no, it doesn't work if you're a Black woman. Because if you're a Black woman, excuse me, what do you mean you're not doing this and you're not doing that? What do you mean you're not bending over backwards, getting blisters in your feet and your hands? What do you mean? It's like a disgust that comes with it. And baby, now that I sit in my femininity, the people that I get that from the most, you'd be surprised. I get that the most from other women. Oh God, don't let me get a provider. Don't let me get somebody that's gonna blow a bag or show up for me or do all different type of stuff. You will be surprised how evil women can get when they see that. They know that they'll never receive it. And they know they'll never receive it because they'll never change. So at the end of the day, when you start changing your mindset and your paradigm, baby, you can tap into a lot, okay? You can tap into a lot. I remember being younger and often hearing my mom say, don't talk about what's going on in this house. She didn't want me to tell anybody how she was treating me either. I realized that it was controlling because she didn't want people to say anything to her. Do you know what I mean? She knew she was doing foul stuff, okay? And oftentimes a lot of us have experienced this, and it's like the perfect fertile ground to be abused. Because then when you're being abused in your relationships and different dynamics, you don't say anything. You feel like, okay, if I just bear it, I can get out of this. I can find my way out of this situation and it's not going to be so bad. Or I'm so used to it, I'm numb to it. My pain tolerance is so high, it doesn't even matter. They think they're doing something, they're not doing nothing, but they are. They're still weighing you down. There's still an anchor tied to your ankle, okay? And that also needs to be released and let go. That phase trained an entire generation of women to hide their pain. It's emotional suppression disguised as family loyalty. Psychologically, that creates chronic emotional inhabitation. You learn to disconnect from your needs in order to maintain safety. It's one of the reasons why most women struggle with speaking up in relationships or minimizing how they feel. It's fine, it's not that deep. And we find ourselves in masculine energy when we do that. Toxic masculine energy, might I add. Because it is that deep, but your body still remembers the fear for being punished for honesty. This is why you either overshare with strangers to feel seen or completely go silent when things get real. It's a silenced inner child begging to be heard and seen. Recently, I was having a conversation with someone and I was discussing how when I talk about experiences that I've been through, oftentimes I'm trying to protect other people's emotions, but sometimes I don't even have to think about protecting somebody's emotions. I don't feel the emotional impact of something heavy that I experienced. And I was telling them my pain tolerance is incredibly too high. I just know something isn't right analytically, and then I know to walk away, but I'm not feeling the impact on how bad that person hurt me, how disgusting that behavior was, how I didn't deserve any of that energy. When I start to reflect and journal and think about those things, I even started to feel so fragile and delicate and vulnerable. It helped me realize going through things and acknowledging how it makes me feel in the moment and thinking about the intensity of how it feels also strengthens my boundaries and allows me to realize it's almost like getting pricked by a thorn. If I get anywhere near that thorn, I know that I'm not going to tolerate it at all. I'm not going to tolerate it for the benefit of anything. I am going to move away from that thing because I have to realize that's dangerous. And sometimes we just let people chisel away at us constantly in situations and environments that are dangerous for us. Even if it chips away at you slowly, it's still chipping away at you. And you have to be appalled by the behavior in the beginning instead of waiting for it to build into this pile and then there's a straw that broke the camel's back. You don't even deserve that. Think about being a woman. Think about being a delicate flower. You are a delicate flower. You are the creative center. You give so much of your life force energy doing so much. And then you block it all out because of this. Being told not to tell business. Don't tell the family what's going on in this house. And you could be getting abused and you still don't speak up. Once you go into these different categories and you open up the hatchet of what's going on down there, you start to figure out that there's a lot going on down there. And you realize this is the reason why my throat chakra isn't open. This is the reason why I don't speak up for myself, or I only speak up for myself when I'm about to explode and blow up, and now they got to hear from me because they played with me too long. But they were allowed to play with you too long because you didn't speak up the first time, because you weren't offended the first time, because you're used to it, because it's your reality, because it's your norm. And it's no longer your norm when you're in your feminine energy. Your feminine is not going to allow that. And she doesn't have to explode. She doesn't have to cry every single time something happens. But just acknowledging someone hurting your feelings, especially if it's intentional, is a huge issue. It is a big deal. And when you grow up in environments like this, you're not going to realize it's a big deal because it's just going to seem normal. But everybody else's face, if they experience that, you'll notice it'll twist up like, whoa, what is going on there? It's going to be really intense for them to watch and be around. But for you, you're looking around like, what's the problem? What's the issue? When it's coming from the person that birthed you, the person that raised you, it really messes with you psychologically. It sets the stage for everything to come later. Now, I'll be honest, before I start going through this healing, before I start tapping into my feminine energy, I used to hear people say, oh yeah, my therapist said that it was my mom's fault or my parents' fault. And I was like, yeah, that could be a problem because they just blaming other people and these people not gonna have no accountability for themselves. But now I'm starting to realize, no, it is them. They shaped your reality. They are part of the reason why you are the way you are. Now, sometimes in survival mode, because you overcame, these things can become a strength. How does it serve you? How is it showing up for you? You're going to be able to see that if you really think about it. Thank them for that. Thank them for the opportunity and the experience, no matter how bad it is. But also speak your grievances, even if it's in your journal, even if it's in like a transactional letter, even if it's to yourself, even if you got to scream, cry, and do whatever you need to do, you have to be able to release that thing. If you hold on to the hurt and the pain and the resentment, but then you're strong, you're just this brick wall. You can't be soft, you can't be delicate, and you have to give grace to yourself. You have to open up and say, you know what? And your vulnerability, that really hurt my feelings. I really didn't deserve that. And I don't even need to understand why they did it. I just need to know that the fact that they did it is unacceptable. And now it's time to ask yourself, what truths am I avoiding to voice because it might disrupt love? What does my body feel when I try to speak my needs? This one, I'm actually so happy that we are in the age of Aquarius. I'm so happy that we have technology. I'm so happy that we're able to see things beyond a veil that we were never able to see. Like, people used to tell you stuff maybe if they told you stuff, or maybe their family was the type of family that said, don't tell nobody what's going on in this house. But we're able to see like inside somebody's house. You don't know what people got going on in their house for real. It's the real thing. And it's even a trend on TikTok, which is hilarious. The way I've been seeing so many videos on the internet about the envious mother. And it's so crazy because you don't even want to believe that your mother is envious of you. I know I didn't. I didn't want to believe that. I couldn't conceptualize why a mother would be jealous of her daughter. And it was interesting because it was adults pointing out to me that she was envious or jealous of me. When they would experience things, when they would hear how she spoke about me, and they were able to like watch me grow up or see how I behave, and they were able to understand, okay, maybe she has an attitude or maybe she's snappy because you did X, Y, Z. Like, that's bogus. You doing her bogus. You doing her wrong. And a lot of people didn't like that. But I also had my own suspicions, and I wasn't able to be validated until those people started pulling me to the side and speaking up to me and saying, yeah, she's jealous of you. And validation, it's crazy how validation will also help set you free as well. But maternal envy is one of the most taboo topics, but it's real. When a mother feels threatened by her daughter's youth, beauty, or potential, she unconsciously competes with her. I can think about so many times where this has taken place. And sometimes it's in the most subtle ways. It's not cute. They try to make it in a way where it seems playful, if that makes any sense. I'll never forget, for whatever reason, she was calling me, video calling me every day. She was like already done up or like did her skincare routine or whatever like that. And I wasn't paying attention to it. You know, I see why people hate on me. I see why people are jealous of me. I'm not gonna lie, because I really don't give a crap about you. I don't care what you got going on. And that really bothers people in the moment. In their twisted little mind, they may be thinking, oh yeah, I'm better than her. I look better than her. I don't care. Can you imagine? Can you imagine people being in competition with you and you don't care and they're over there looking crazy, constantly in competition with you. Well, first enemy was that one. She was doing it and she did it for like 2 days in a row. I didn't even realize that she was doing what she was doing because she's so animated until one day she video called me and I was already dressed and ready for the day. I'd already ran my errands. I was just like taking care of, like, you know, if you go outside, you're going to take care of yourself or whatever. And I'll never forget how she sat up and her commentary was like, oh, you got dressed up today. Oh, you're up early. Oh, you actually did this and you did that. Let me get up and do. And I was like, wait a minute. Has she been like low-key trying to compete with me this whole time? You can't compete where you don't compare. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, that's your mother, but at the same time, you gotta remember, if you care about age and you don't want to age, you're already old as dirt. You beat me to the punch. You beat us to the punch. But some women will have those mothers that spend a lot of money taking care of themselves and getting their body right and getting their figure together. But also you'll see this in mothers where they start dating intentionally, going after younger men in your age range. That is so weird to me. That is so weird. Doing things in front of your boyfriend or your husband, whoever, they get pretty shady with this. But the smallest little thing can just be, oh, you got ready and you took care of yourself today and you're actually put together and now I need to go get put together. Why? Who cares? That type of insecurity, when you think, honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, the more I heal, especially in this season that I'm in right now, as much as I healed, you know how your vision changes? My vision has changed so much that when I look at my parents in my mind, when I think about the things that they've done, when I think about the things that they said, when I think about the ways that they act, I'm actually really disappointed and embarrassed. I cannot believe I came from these people, because what is your function? What are you doing? What have you been doing with your whole entire life? The fact that people like this will focus on you in your life and try to put you down your entire life. But when you think about it, they haven't done anything with theirs. They have not done anything with theirs. And they're constantly trying to put you down. And you have to think to yourself, like, why don't I have the support and the love that I need in my life? And I have to go seek it outside and look for it in friends and look for it in a partner. And you know what I mean? And then you go through your healing cycle and you realize, okay, it's in myself. I just got to chalk it up to the dust and say, I never got it as a child. I never got it the way I needed it. Then you start thinking, did I ever really receive love, or were they just trying to make themselves feel good? That is so sad. And if you think about the product of who you are now and how strong you are now and how you show up for yourself now and how you're trying to do better now and you're trying to do better for your kids or maybe the people around you, thank God you made the decision to actually emotionally mature, to mentally mature, because these games are sickening and nobody should have to go through that. And for some people, even people that go into therapy, they realize that this creates internalized shame and self-comparison. But me, I'm so lucky that I really don't care. Sometimes it makes me look slow, even though I'm not slow. If I think about everything that everybody has done and I actually examined everything that everybody has done, I will pick up on every single little thing. I don't even have to examine it. If I go back to a time and I think about something, it's gonna pop up because I caught it. I caught it when you dropped it. I just didn't care. So it fell on air. Do you know what I mean? Oftentimes I think people think that I'm slow and I'm not catching it. I'm not slow. I just don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about your stupid game. I don't care about anything you got going on because I'm me and I'm focused on me. And if you were focused on you, your life would actually look like something. A lot of people aren't going to say that to their parents. I will. I'm that unhinged, you guys. No wonder why I'm the black sheep of the family. Because I'm going to say it. If you push me, I'm going to say it. Because why? Why are you continuing? Why do you keep doing that? Stop it. Cut it out. And at this point, when you're dealing with a mother like this, you're going to come to the realization that they're not willing to fix and mend the relationship. You're going to have to grieve this type of mother and let this mother go forever. Because if you keep her around, she is the toxin in your life. If she is not authentically trying to change, if she's not trying to get the help on her own, then she will find every which way to destroy your life. And it can be the smallest thing that she can say and do that will destroy your entire life. day by day, nitpicking, saying the thing, not showing up, that's when you'll realize that it's definitely a wound, because the smallest thing will hit you in a certain type of way. They'll make you spaz, they'll make you go off, they'll make you cry, and they love it because it's about control for them. It's about evoking some type of emotion out of you, and you have to be able to remove that button. You can't allow them to push you, because they're going to push you out of your femininity. You're not even going to go into your masculinity. You're going to be like a wounded animal, and you're going to go straight into survival mode. They're not good for your nervous system. And I'm not telling you to cut them off. I'm not telling you to keep them in your life. I'm just saying, if this is the type of mother where they are not trying to get any help, and they don't care about your boundaries, they don't care about what you got going on, and they're still going to behave the same way and don't care, then you're going to have to do the hard thing and speak up first before you cut them off. You're going to have to speak up. You're going to have to implement your boundaries and stand on your boundaries, because typically your mother is your first Goliath. Usually she's your only Goliath. The second that you slay that Goliath, all of a sudden you have boundaries. It's not hard to implement these boundaries with a person that you love, with your children, with your husband. It doesn't matter, because you're able to stand on business with the one person you were never able to stand on business with. Other people around you will not understand, and it's not for them to understand. Do not let them talk you out of how you're dealing and processing this new evolution of self when it comes to someone that constantly brings poison into your life, even your mother. My light is to speak the truth. You may have grown up thinking that your light causes chaos and conflict, that attention or success will make people resent you. So you dim, you turn down your voice, your looks, your wins. You start hiding and shrinking in rooms where you're meant to shine. But dimming yourself does not protect you. It disconnects you from your divine feminine, which is radiant by nature. So I want you to ask yourself, when did I first start feeling guilty for being seen? How has shrinking become a form of self-protection? And it's important that you really sit with yourself and dive deep into that. That's one of the reasons why you don't feel good opening up. This is also a part of opening and being vulnerable as well. If you play it small, those offenders, those abusers, those you guys like to call narcissists, they look for certain aspects within you that they can smell. And sometimes you may not minimize in every single room. It's just in certain instances, and people can see that. You may not know it, but they can see that. So it's time to heal that. I promise you, this is flowing perfectly, because I was definitely gonna say guilt and obligation, baby. That is the next thing. When love is given with conditions, guilt becomes your leash. Mothers that say, after all that I've done for you, they teach daughters to equate love with debt. And what does this create? In psychology, this is emotional manipulation. But to a child, it just feels like love. That obligation feels like love. That heaviness feels like love. Now, fast forward into an adult. What type of experiences are you going to have when people say stuff like this? What does this create? Doesn't it sound like it's going to create a people pleaser? You feel like you have to always show up, always reciprocate, always give, because you don't want somebody to feel the way your mother felt when she was saying different things to you. Now, you don't even think about your mother when this happens. You just feel like this is the way that you are. This is a part of your character, but it's not a part of your character. It was something that you were raised in. You feel like you have to always show up and reciprocate anytime somebody does something for you. Or you'll start to feel like you don't want anybody doing nothing for you, because they're going to hold it over your head and you hate the way that feels. This is something that needs to be healed if this is you. It's so deeply rooted that you don't even really know where it comes from. Or maybe you do know where it comes from. For me, for instance, I knew exactly where this came from. And I used to always say, I hate for somebody to do something for me and then they take it back like an Indian giver. Or somebody is saying, oh, you owe me this, or you need to do that in order to get this. Working hard for my love, I have to sometimes show up and give first before I can receive. Or when I finally do receive, I'm walking on eggshells because I just know it's going to get thrown in my face. And even saying to myself, I hate for somebody to do something for me because I hate for them to think that I owe them. That ball and chain was me verbally manifesting, my belief system manifesting for nobody to do anything for me, or for me to have a visceral reaction if somebody did. I really didn't want anybody to do nothing for me at all whatsoever. And it will be awkward moments where I'm like, no, it's okay, you can keep it, or no, you can do that. Even though I thought that that was protection, it wasn't protection. It was just me getting the lesser end of the stick. And as I started to heal this energy and this behavior, I had to first just uproot that belief and implement a new belief. And the new belief was, anytime somebody does something for me, I'm going to accept it graciously. And I don't feel like I have to reciprocate. I don't feel like I have to give my body. I don't feel like I have to do the thing to them, or, especially if I'm not asking for it. I'm gracious for it. Thank you so much. But the second that somebody tries to throw it in my face, I often say, oh, we didn't explicitly say that I had to do da 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 da. I didn't know that you were expecting da 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 da. Had I known that you were expecting da 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 da, I would have told you, even though you're giving me this thing, I'm not gonna do that. So are you sure that you want to give me this thing? I'm not even going to repel it. Still, I'm not going to repel it. It's just going to create a clearer communication atmosphere where I'm not going to sleep with you because you took me on a date. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not going to do that because I'm not a prostitute. What is this unspoken contract? And I don't feel bad that you did something for me. Even though you deal with this with your mother, I even figured out recently that I dated someone that was heavily in the same energy as my mother. And man, when I had that epiphany after that breakup, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just dated my mom. And it wasn't like they were acting like a woman, but the structure of how I grew up was highly evident in that relationship. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that coming. But getting back once to the topic at hand, if you decide to give me something, I'm just gracious. I started to realize communication is everything. If somebody is doing something and it doesn't take a lot of effort, then I'm gracious and I take it. You know what I mean? And somebody can have ill intention all they want. I don't have ill intention, and that's what matters the most, especially when you're dealing with spirituality, because spirituality is heavily connected to your divine feminine energy. You have to make sure that your intention is pure. So if you're trying to F this person over, if you're trying to get over on somebody and you're using them, and you gonna get what you get. But when you're coming from a space where you're existing and you're receiving in your feminine energy and people are giving to you in your feminine energy, typically if you're really tapped into your feminine energy, a lot of people aren't trying to get anything back from you because they're already getting something from you. That peaceful air, that light energy that you're providing, being gracious, you show up differently than anyone else that someone has been able to experience, right? Because it's not a lot of women tapped into their true femininity, not just the aesthetic. So when people are doing something for you, particularly men are a great example of this. And this is why we go together so well. If you're tapped into your feminine energy, they benefit strongly doing for you and achieving some type of obstacle. And this is also tied into like a bonding hormone that they have. I believe it's called vasopressin, but it's their bonding hormone. Okay. And a lot of men don't even know that they have this. They don't even know what the heck is going on and why they like certain women more than others, and they're so attached and they can't get over her, so on and so forth. It shows up in a different way. If you guys want me to do a video on that, I can do a video on that, but I've kind of avoided having conversations around that type of stuff because I don't want women getting caught up in trying to attach themselves to men. I more so want us to focus on healing and then having better relationships all around. Our relationships are the very thing that are going to help us evolve and move through this life and conquer the things that our soul wanted us to conquer in this lifetime. But the way vasopressin works is basically, it's like teamwork. So you're buddy bonding, but when it comes to your femininity, giving the man a job to do, and it's not like you have to outright tell him what you want. If a man is really interested in you, he'll automatically be listening for cues of what you like and what you want and what you want to experience. A lot of them are childish, so they won't do exactly what you want them to do. Even if you tell them straight what you want them to do, they also like to play the game of figuring things out. They like that guessing game. And when they succeed in that guessing game, they get better at the guessing game. They will give you things. And a lot of women, more than likely, because of this aspect, this trigger of this mother wound, of this guilt aspect, they'll often say no. Like, now you're activating your throat chakra from the lesson before, but you're not activating it in love. You're activating it in survival, trying to protect yourself in protection. So you'll say, no, those aren't the flowers that I wanted. That's not what I wanted. I told you that I wanted, I don't know, green lilies. And he got you sunflowers instead. Or maybe you said, I like white roses, and he ended up getting you calla lilies instead. And it's like, no, that's not right. It's because there's the aspect of you trying to overcome more than likely this aspect as well. So this is an adverse effect. Some women are like, no, don't do anything for me. And other women's are like, if you do something for me, it's got to be right and it's got to be on point, and I'm not taking nothing for nothing because I'm not taking any more bad behavior. Nobody else is going to continue to treat me bad. Do you see what I'm saying? So a lot of us have different effects when it comes to this, but there'll be guilt. You can either be the guilt girl or you could be the girl that's like, nobody can do anything right. Healing these aspects and just learning how to flow. That's the most important part about femininity. Being able to flow, being able to glow. Boundaries is really important because when someone is trying to use you or they're trying to give you bare minimum and expect you to have this excited reaction to it, that's going to help you say, okay, you know, this doesn't serve me, and thank you for your time and your energy and this experience. It was great, but I have to move on and carry you on elsewhere. Man, this will definitely have a hold on you for sure. So as an adult, you will attract people that mirror that in some type of way, shape, or form. Partners who take, friends who drain, bosses who exploit your work ethic. You become a peacekeeper or a tyrant. Constantly trying to be good enough to deserve rest, or not giving a crap at all and creating chaos. But genuine love doesn't guilt you into showing up. It allows you to show up freely. If you're on the polar ends of this, where you feel like you have to be good enough, or you're nervous taking things from people, or you're very selfish and you are just a tyrant, you definitely have to find your happy medium and balance in the middle, right? So that we can actually attract those that reflect the energy that we're in. And oftentimes when you start to heal, people flee from you when they start to realize that you're authentic or that you're not controlling. There's a unspoken energy. We often think when people are unaware, they're not able to peep us. Even if they don't have the words, even if they're not familiar with it, you definitely feel different. And like any animal on this earth, we all know when to mess with something and when not to mess with something. Whether it's from experience or just that innate inclination, don't go there with that. You know what I mean? So you don't have to go all out in trying to implement these boundaries and being abrasive. And you definitely have to stand up when it's time for you to take up space. Now I want you to think about it and think to yourself, who taught me that love has to be earned? And who were the other facilitators that cemented that belief within me? Where do I still confuse guilt with responsibility? How does that show up in my everyday life? Now, this has been brought up throughout this entire conversation, but it's survival mode. Survival mode teaches you how to perform strength, but never how to feel safe. Your mother may have been emotionally unavailable, constantly stressed or reactive, so you became hyper independent, a woman who never asked for help because vulnerability once felt dangerous. From a trauma lens, that's nervous system deregulation. You live in fight or flight. You're really unable to truly relax in your feminine energy because softness feels like exposure. But femininity thrives in safety, in rest, in trust, and surrender. For all of us, we're going to respond to this completely differently because environment matters. The other people that were in our lives as we were growing up also matters, and our experiences, everything matters, right? But in this, I can only speak from my own experience. And where I saw this in the home was when I would be smothered with love and affection, but I didn't want it, or it felt uncomfortable, and I felt really weird with my mom touching me for whatever reason. But as I grew up and I started to reflect and understand and like go through that process of healing, I realized I felt weird because the love wasn't authentic. The love was coming through because she needed it in that moment. It wasn't because I needed it in that moment. And it was a mixed match energy because the times that I did need to be comforted and I did need someone to speak to and I did need someone to console me, either she was the reason why I was feeling like that, or I just wasn't able to receive it in those moments for one reason or another. So when I finally started to feel this random love, you know, that she's trying to give emotionally and spiritually, it wasn't connecting because it wasn't authentic for me. It wasn't because it's what I needed. It was because it was what she needed. Even at a young age, I was the type of kid where my demeanor was very strong. Like my mind was very strong. I came into this world with my own mind, okay? I realized earlier the feeling like I feel like I'm being treated like a teddy bear, almost like an object. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to be hugged right now. I would sit in these moments where I was first asked, do you love me? Do you really care about me? And it made me feel really uncomfortable because, like, duh, I'm programmed to love you. Like, I have to care about you. Like, what kind of question is that? What are you talking about? That level of insecurity, it wasn't really vulnerability to me. It was something else. It was like a reversal of placements in the family. And it kind of goes to the first step. And I didn't get over that for a really long time. Like, I never liked her touching me. It was so weird. It was so weird. I really don't like either one of my parents touching me. Even before I had all of this realization and realizing that my life and growing up wasn't normal and I had to overcome a lot, I just started to realize, like, yeah, I never liked them touching me. And I don't think I really like people touching me like that unless I'm the initiator. Like, I kind of have to let you know that I feel safe enough for that to happen. And that may speak to some of my hyper independence. That may speak to some of the things that I had to heal, like the love language of touch. I didn't like to be touched, so that wasn't a love language to me. It was something that made my skin crawl or made me clench my jaw or tighten up. I just didn't want it because I didn't feel like it was authentic. I felt like somebody always wanted something from me. If they were trying to touch me, like, what you touching me for? What you touching me for? What business you got touching me? And now that I'm older and I also started to realize that there's an exchange in energy as well, I'm kind of glad that I've been like that, being hyper aware of the energy when people touch me. So I know when to cleanse, and I know that I don't want people touching me. And some people go out of their way to try to touch me, and I'm like, no, don't touch me. For the fifth one, that is a really big thing. Being in survival mode is one of the main things that's going to definitely kill your femininity. Like I said before, you're not feeling safe. You have to feel comfortable. You have to feel safe. You have to understand that you don't need anyone else to come to your rescue. But if someone did, you welcome it. You know what I mean? But you don't expect it. You understand that you can handle your own too. And that's the beautiful thing about going through all of this trauma, because you have been in fight or flight. You are hyper aware of when you need to move out of situations or when you need to attack. You need that instinct as well, okay? But now we have to move from that into a more balanced area, understanding that every situation doesn't require that, and it takes us to find peace and solace within ourselves in order to have that type of reaction. Because at some point you're going to realize, oh, I'm safe. Maybe to you, if you're imagining how you look on the outside, it'll seem like you're being ditzy, but you're not being ditzy. Like, you just understand that you're safe. Once you tap into your feminine energy and you actually heal and clean up all of that trauma, you'll be in a different vibration where you call on different aspects of people, or you just won't align with certain people that will put you in that fight or flight energy, right? And you'll be able to stand tall, and you'll just be able to look at people like, oh, okay, whatever. It reminds me of this time. It was summertime. I was heavily in my feminine energy. And I remember my dad was coming to pick me up, and I was waiting outside at the corner because I just went to the grocery store, and there was this homeless man across the street. I had seen him multiple times. It was not a big deal that he was there. I have no issues with homeless people, so I wasn't thinking nothing of it. But he caught eyes with me while I was on the phone with my father, and my father was telling me to wait right there. All of a sudden, he started yelling at the top of his lungs to the point that you could hear these words echo through the entire neighborhood. Which, over and over and over again, rushing to me, speed walking. He was dang there running toward me. It was almost like an outer body experience. It's not that I removed myself from my body from protection. It was more so I was viewing this from a third person perspective as well, because I couldn't believe how well I was handling it. If I had not been healed, you guys, I don't know how I would have responded to that. But he was really pulling up on me right when he got close enough, like double arm's length. I was just staring at him, and at first I was really confused. What is going on? And then I went to introspection, and I was like, I wonder what he sees, because I knew I'd been healing. I knew I'd been meditating. I knew I was tapping into some serious energy. I knew that I was probably opening portals. And actually, my mom was the one that was angry one day telling me that I was opening portals and I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But I was really wondering like what he saw. And I was like, I wonder if he sees my spirit, my aura, because I believe he was also probably schizophrenic as well. You know, schizophrenic people, they see things. But if you know anything about the background of schizophrenia, and a friend once told me this, that in Native American, I forgot what tribe, but in Native American culture, they would look for the people that had the traits of what we call schizophrenia and train them to be the shaman of the tribe because they are connected openly to the spiritual realms. I'm wondering like, man, what does he see? But this is before I even knew about that experience. This experience is the reason why that friend told me about that, like maybe a year later. When he got really close to me, I automatically knew to say the Lord's Prayer. And I was saying the Lord's Prayer under my breath. And it clicked in at the right moment. He instantly stopped what he was doing. And we had eye contact and he started to walk around me. And I was just turning my head, watching him, and I was doing the prayer. And then he walked away. And I was like, what was that? I'm just all in my energy. I'm all in my divine essence. Like, man, what was that? Now I'm trying to figure it out. I know I'm about to meditate about this. The divine is about to hook your sister up with some divine knowledge about what happened. You know, I asked my father on the phone, I was like, did you hear that? And he was like, yeah. I was like, he was talking to me. And he was like, oh, don't worry about it. He was trying to like calm me down, like pat me on the back verbally. And I was like, no, I don't need patting on the back. Like, I'm trying to figure out what that meant. You know, it's not like I took it personal. The man is out of his mind and untrained, you know what I mean? So no hard feelings, but I was just aware I was tapping into a certain energy and I was safe. And that helped me realize how safe and divinely protected I was. Because when I tell you everyone stopped and looked at what was going on, everyone was confused. Even the dogs was looking like, what's going on over there? It was like the whole neighborhood got quiet and you could just hear this man's voice echoing through the neighborhood. And I'm just sitting there so calm. I wish I would have spoke to some people around me, but I always thought about it like, I wonder what they thought when I was so calm. You know what I mean? They probably went home and they were like, man, she was so calm. And all of a sudden he just stopped when he got close to her and walked around her. Because you know, these people, they'll punch you. They'll knock you out. You'll be scrapping, you know. Yeah, no, he immediately calmed down, became docile, and it was like the program shut down and he went about his business. But I've also heard that sometimes they see demons as well. And I realized that I was very divinely protected, but highly elevated in my energy. So they were probably trying to knock me down into a fear-based energy, but I stood in my power. And it was so eloquent how that all went down. And I was just like, wow. Even my father coming to pick me up, he was working and he came to pick me up to take me home. Like, I could have walked. It was a beautiful night. I was willing to walk, but I accepted that and I received that. And he also felt really good doing that as well. But yeah, you guys, I can't wait for you to heal up out of this energy so that you can experience this. Like when I tell you feminine energy is top tier, masculine energy is top tier too, and feminine energy, as long as we're not in the toxic energy, you know what I mean? But once you start tapping into these energies, it is so valuable to your life. I promise you. I'm so excited now. I feel uplifted. My energy is just like, But let's go ahead and get into your reflection, okay? So I want you to think, what part of me still thinks peace means danger? You know, when you feel like if you drop your swords, you lose, or they're going to continue to take advantage of you, or vulnerable is a sign of weakness. It's not, babes. Vulnerability is one of the strongest aspects that you can have, and it's the best aspect that you can have in any relationship, especially the relationship with yourself, because that's where your truth lies. That's where your safety lies, being vulnerable, being honest. And the easier it is for you to do such, the easier and quicker it is to see the real intentions of other people. Because if people can't hold space for you and your true, pure vulnerability, not trauma dumping, but your vulnerability, then you know that this person is not safe enough for you to be around. They're not safe enough for you to invite them into your life. And oftentimes when we hide these things and we try to avoid and evade these things, that's what takes so long for us to see someone else's false mask, okay? So just think about that, all right? So the next reflection question: what would it feel like to exist without having to prove my worth? And I know that a lot of people are having an adverse effect to this thought process and feeling like they don't have to explain anything and they don't have to bring anything to the table. And no matter how ratchet or how much they want to twerk or how ignorant they act, they feel like they still have this worth, okay? And what I do want to point out, something that I've started to come to terms with my own introspection and how I'm moving and dealing with people going through my life. I realized, especially in this last conversation that I just had with someone, I realized that I'm not looking for someone perfect. At the same time, I don't want any type of relationship with anyone where 87% of the time they're treating me bad, and then the other 13% of the time they're treating me well. Like they have good characteristics, but they're jealous or they're stingy or they look down on me or they talk crap behind my back. They turn other people against me. I don't want any of that. I need to have like that 80% of you being a really good person, and then the other amount you're working on it. We're here to heal each other. We're not trying to hurt each other, and not using the excuse because I'm not healed, that's the reason why I hurt you. No, there's no more of that. We're not dealing with that anymore. That's unacceptable. And I'm starting to realize that is really important. It really boils down to being in my life. It's not complicated. You're either a healing, growing presence or a draining, detracting one. And literally, that's the whole interview. And that is part of people's worth for me. And that is my worth, because I'm not coming into anyone's life depleting and detracting their energy. And I refuse to have any of that going on in mine. And that shows up in jealousy, envy, mistreatment, talking negatively either about me or other people, the gossip and all of that stuff. You can do a little bit of it, and I don't even know how I feel about that. But for the most part, I want to have elevating conversations. I want to walk away from conversations and feeling height, love, light, elevated, poured into. And I want to make sure that the people that I'm having these conversations with feel the same way. It's about time that we have those type of relationships in our lives, right? Especially if we're dealing with mothers like this. We need at some point people in our lives, a community that's going to be healing for us. But the problem is when we have these type of environments that we grow up in, we cling to whatever feels close to our heart, and usually it's like the negativity and the toxicity of our childhood. And at some point you're going to have to definitely cleanse that. You're going to have to purge that. You're going to have to fast from that and everyone around you, and start to recalibrate yourself and slowly reintroduce yourself into different communities, right? But you're going to eventually get to a point where you can choose better and you're aligned with better individuals that facilitate that for you. But oftentimes we're going to have to be alone. You know what I mean? In order to heal. And then we're going to have to get back out and exchange experiences with people. But for the most part, that's definitely something to think about. And I want to bring to your attention, you didn't fail as a daughter. You adapted as a survivor. But now your healing is asking something new of you. And in our next conversation, we're going to talk about how to rewire that survival energy into peace, how to cleanse your mother's energy, create real emotional safety, and step back into, or for the first time, step into your feminine power. You're here to evolve it. I'd love to hear what you all got out of this conversation. Do not forget to like, hype this video, subscribe, and hit that notification so that you always get notified when I drop a new conversation. Well, that's my time. Thank you so much for spending your time, your energy here with me today. I hope you wrote down those journal prompts. And I'll see you later next time, okay? All right. Peace, love, and a little bit of spice. Mwah.